Kaido swings his weapon down, striking Luffy with great force. Luffy is sent flying to the ground, unconscious. CP0 agents watch the fight unfold. Momonosuke notices Luffy lying motionless on the ground and exclaims, "I do not hear Luffy's voice anymore." Kaido stands next to Luffy, observing him closely. Suddenly, something comes out of Luffy's mouth, catching Kaido's attention. Kaido turns to the CP0 agent and says, "So, you are prepared for what happens next?" Luffy lies on the ground, motionless, while the CP0 agent stands nearby. Kaido raises his weapon in the air and a massive blast erupts from the top of the roof. The fire engulfs the building, shocking everyone present. Suddenly, Kaido appears in the main hall where everyone is gathered. Kaido exclaims, "Where is your leader? I must have Momonosuke surrender. Straw Hat Luffy is dead. If anyone else wishes to challenge me, step forward." The Animal Kingdom pirates laugh and shout, "Yeah, he did it! Master Kaido is utterly victorious." The samurai pirates shout back, "That is a lie! The man in the straw hat is—" Law turns to Captain Kidd and says, "Straw Hat's voice has vanished." Captain Kidd remarks, "It was a short-lived dream." Law adds, "This is cold, brutal reality. There is nothing left to talk about." Chopper begins to cry and exclaims, "Luffy got beaten." Nami sobs and declares, "There is no way Luffy lost. Of course he's not dead. That's ridiculous." Kaido responds, "Well, at least one of you has some moxie." Pirates down below shout back, "You are a liar! I don't believe you!" Kaido breathes fire and throws a fire blast towards the pirates. Marco the Phoenix jumps in and stops Kaido's attack, furiously shouting, "Don't lose your composure! Not before it's all over!" Kaido shouts, "Onigashima will soon land upon the flower capital as originally planned. Unlike Orochi, I am no pushover." Kaido threatens everyone, declaring that they will become his slaves. He shouts, "You dared to fight back against me, and you have earned my wrath." People are terrified and cry out, "This is what it means to lose a war. The cost of your defeat is your freedom and your hope." Kaido is furious and raging. He shouts, "Bring Momonosuke to me. The battle is not over until I deal with him." One of Kaido's pirates exclaimed, "Hey, now's our chance. Take down Kid and Law. They're both on death's door." Law and Kid were struggling hard as they just defeated Big Mom. The pirates attacked them by saying, "You might have beaten Big Mom, but Kaido is always the ultimate adversary." Heart Pirates and Kid Pirates jumped in and said, "Protect the captains!" Meanwhile, the samurai were escaping from the fire, and people were saying, "There's nothing except flames and fire. Search for an exit." Kid said to Law, "I am gonna fight Trafalgar. No surrender, no going out without a peep." Law replied, "Damn it, Straw Hat." In another scene, Momonosuke said to Yamato that he cannot fight Kaido as Luffy lost, so how can he win? But Yamato urged him to fight, even if it means death, and she said that Kaido is already beaten up. Momonosuke disagreed and said that only more people will die. Luffy already lost, and they can now only surrender. Yamato stated that she is not going to let Momonosuke do that because surrender is not an option. She added, "This is what the daimyo from all over Wano did when they risked their lives fighting back against Orochi. The last 20 years of Wano is riding upon this battle. If you're going to let it go to waste, then let's face death together." Momonosuke was stunned, and the samurais continued fighting while Yamato was damn serious. At the same time, Kaido was raging and continuously throwing fire blasts. The scene then shifts to the rooftop of Onigashima, where Luffy was unconscious, laid on the ground. Suddenly, from the riverside, Zunesha, the giant elephant, appears and says, "Momonosuke, I can hear it. How long has it been?" Momonosuke asked, "What is it, Zunesha?" Zunesha replied, "I hear the drums of liberation. For the first time in 800 years, he is here." Zunesha was seen with red eyes and said again, "Joy Boy has returned." Luffy was shown smiling while he was on the ground. Zunesha was standing in water, and Luffy was saying, "What happened to me? Why can I still stand, even though I am having fun for some reason?" And Luffy laughs. As Zunesha says, "Luffy is Joy Boy?" Yamato says, "Is that what Zunesha is saying?" Suddenly, Sanji is shown looking at the sky, and he confusingly says, "Luffy?" On the performance floor, Kid and Law are also confused as they see someone in the sky. An old man looking at the sky says, "Is that you, Straw Hat fellow?" Marco also confusingly says, "Straw Hat? Hey, he is still breathing." Luffy and the little girl are happy for Luffy being alive. The scene shifts to Sacred Marioa, a castle of Gorosei. One of the Gorosei says, "So we have lost an elite agent and made Kaido angry. What was the point?" The other Gorosei says, "What if I told you that there was a potential future that would make us beg for outcome? It is always better to eliminate dangerous variables." The bald guy furiously says, "In every era, the world government has attempted to recover the Egum Gum fruit, and not once has it ever succeeded. For 800 years. The man with a long beard says, "It is as though the devil fruit is trying to escape our grasp, and it very well might be." The other Gorosei says, "Zoan fruits contain a will of their own, and this particular fruit has the name of a god. The other name of Gum Gum fruit is the Zoan-type human fruit. That is a mythical type model, Nika, possessing a body with the properties of rubber, and fighting in whatever way he fancies, bringing smiles to the faces of the people. The warrior of liberation, also known as Nika, the sun god. Awakening brings his rubbery body greater physical strength and freedom. It is said that in all the world there is no power more ridiculous." The scene comes back to the second floor of Onigashima. The scene moves back to the top floor, where Luffy was in his moon pose and saying, "Oh, I can do everything I wanted to do. I think I can fight a bit longer. My heartbeat sounds so funny. This is the pinnacle of what I can do. This is Gear 5. The scene moves back to the lower floor where Kaido was enraged. Everyone was looking upward in the sky, so Kaido got confused and said, "What is it, men?" In confusion, he looked upward and said, "What is up there on the roof?" Suddenly, the ceiling of the roof started breaking more and more. The Animal Kingdom pirates were confused. Law and Kid were also shocked and confused. Chopper said, "Is that Luffy?" Suddenly, a giant hand came down from the ceiling, so giant that it grabbed the whole dragon Kaido. It was Luffy coated with white stuff. He pulled Kaido out from the lower floor to the top floor with his gigantic hands. Luffy wrapped Kaido with his long, heavy stretched arms. He swung Kaido here and there to the left and right very quickly, and then bumped Kaido to the ground with great pressure. Kaido was badly bumped into the ground. Luffy was laughing, and Kaido said, "Straw Hat, you survived. Thank you." Kaido fired a massive fire blast by saying, "Blast breath." Luffy was shocked to see such a massive fireball. Luffy jumped into the air by holding the ground, and the ground turned into rubber. He not only stopped the attack, but because the ground was now rubber, the attack got repelled towards Kaido. Kaido was shocked and got a massive hit by his own fireball. Then we saw the Gear 5 Sun God Nika form of Luffy, and Luffy was laughing maniacally. Kaido said, "I'm sorry about that earlier. I didn't want to win that way." Luffy replied, "Don't sweat it. Let's finish this up." Kaido says, "I was certain that you were dead." Luffy laughs and says, "Me too." Kaido says, "Given that you're transferring your rubber power to other things, I suppose I can interpret this as the awakening of your Paramecia powers." But something doesn't add up. Kaido opens his mouth and shouts, "Body transformations like that are the trademark of Zoan powers." As he finishes speaking, he suddenly eats Luffy whole, but Luffy was standing in his mouth, holding Kaido's teeth with his hands. Kaido was confused and said, "Why you?" Kaido pressured Luffy, trying to digest him into his body, but Luffy started bouncing in Kaido's body, making it look like rubber. Kaido was struggling and Luffy shouts, "Balloon!" Suddenly Kaido's body becomes so fat, and Kaido shouts in pain. Kaido was struggling hard, and his body was now looking like a balloon. Yamato and Momonosuke were also shocked. Yamato says, "What is that? What's happening? I don't understand. Kaido is getting fatter. Was that always one of his forms?" Struggling, Kaido says, "Curses! What's wrong with me? My body isn't made of rubber." Inside Kaido's body, Luffy says, "Oh, I see two lights." Suddenly, Luffy's hands come out of Kaido's eyes by stretching. Luffy grasps Kaido's nose and shouts, "Gumo Gumo no, escape rocket!" and pushes himself out of Kaido's body. Kaido feels pain and shouts loudly. Luffy sees Kaido's back and smiles as he was enjoying the fight. Luffy blows air out from his body, which pushes Luffy back high into the sky. Kaido, Momonosuke, and Yamato are confused. Yamato says, "What?" Luffy flies in the air, transforms his body into a giant form, and was going to step on Kaido's face. Kaido shouts, "Giant!" Kaido dodges the attack and bites Luffy on the back. Luffy shouts in pain, but then grasps Kaido's body from his both hands and starts swinging with Kaido's body by saying loudly, "Jump rope!" Kaido, who was struggling, was shouting loudly in pain. As Luffy was wriggling Kaido's body, Kaido moves back to Luffy, and by breathing fire, he shouts, "Blast breath!" and straight fires a massive fire blast straight on Luffy's face. Yamato says, "Oh no! He took the full brunt of the blast breath!" Luffy's body was fully burnt, and he was falling from the sky after taking a massive hit. As Luffy was falling, he says, "That does it!" He struggles and starts running in the air with full speed, and he jumps back like a projectile to the top of the roof. Luffy was in high sky. Kaido sees Luffy and gets frustrated. As Luffy was going to use his attack, Kaido jumps in the air and says, "Conqueror of 3 worlds, Ragnarok," and hits straight in Luffy's head with his full power. Luffy's rubber head breaks the ceiling and comes inside the building. The Beast Pirates are frightened and shocked to see the new, massive Luffy. Law, Kid, Chopper, Nami, and a little girl are all confused and shocked as they see Luffy coated with white substance. Luffy pulls himself back from the inner building to the rooftop where Kaido is standing. Kaido says, "It's like something from a comic strip." Luffy sits in front of Kaido, and Kaido says, "Well, that was a very entertaining show, but you have reached your limit, haven't you? You cannot defeat me." Luffy tells Kaido to shut up, and then he smiles and says, "Who says I am at my limit?" Luffy's body starts draining slowly, and he looks completely out of his limit. Luffy says, "I am all tuckered out." Kaido asks, "Who are you?" Kaido also feels weak and sits in front of Luffy, holding his weapon in his hand. Yamato says, "It really is Luffy. It just didn't look like him because his hair and clothes turned white, but his voice is nearly dying out." Luffy gets back up and says, "This can't end yet. Momo, Tama, Kinemon, Pedro." Kaido laughs and warns Luffy to be careful or he will die. Luffy responds, "You actually think I'm afraid of that?" Luffy talks to himself saying, "Come on, Heart, hit that beat again." Luffy starts laughing again and says, "Yeah, that's the sound." Suddenly, Kaido stands up and readies his attack by saying, "Very well then." Yamato shouts, "Look out, Luffy!" But before Luffy can move back, it is too late. Kaido hits Luffy with his full force, but instead of getting harmed, Luffy's body changes its shape to weapon shape. Yamato is shocked, and Luffy is running and dodging Kaido's attacks. Kaido once more raises his weapon high, aiming perfectly and attacks Luffy directly on his head. But again, after taking a direct hit, Luffy jumps towards the nearby cliff. Luffy says, 3, 2, 1, 0, and Luffy pushes himself back towards Kaido with full force. Kaido is confused as Luffy goes with wringing his Gatling hands around his body, creating a circle attack. Kaido says, "What does all of this mean? He turns all white. He uses the colors of armament and the Supreme King, and he can transfer his powers to other things? I have never seen such freewheeling combat before." Luffy shouts, "There is no one in this world who can defeat me." Luffy throws a direct punch towards Kaido, hitting him directly in the face. Yamato and Momonosuke are also shocked as they see Kaido getting a direct hit in the face. As Kaido gets hit, he falls back badly, and his body reaches the ground while blood comes out of his face. Luffy smiles and says, "Isn't this fun, Kaido?" The chapter ends.